Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lisa Lamont, and I'm founder of Ladies Get Your Prance On show. And today we have Dr. Heather Renee in the house. Welcome, Heather.
Hi, thanks so much for having me, Lisa.
I am so excited. So for the people who may not know who you are, can you give us a little background, like where are you from? And also, I'm always curious to find out what made you decide to become a doctor and why?
Sure. Well, I'm calling you today from Laguna Niguel, California, which is my hometown, although I've lived in other states around the country, but this is definitely home. How did I be, I don't know that I made a conscious decision to become a doctor, quite honestly. I was a first generation college student, but education was always very, very important to my mother. And I was in college and I had, it wasn't really just a professor. She actually became my mentor, who I'm still in contact with, over 20 years later, who kind of pulled me aside and said, have you thought about graduate school? And I was like, I don't know if my parents are going to go for that. They're already wondering when I'm going to enter the workforce here. This is delaying it another 4 to 8 years, depending on the program you're in. So she just really encouraged me to expand on this passion that was starting to come through, which was educating others.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize really what I was going to do. I mean, I applied to college, but I didn't know what the heck I was going to do with a college degree. My parents didn't have one, but she pulled me aside and said, hey, what do you think about this? And I said, well, let's give it a shot. And I applied and got accepted. And that's been the one common theme, is that I've always been really excited. Kind of what gets me fired up is teaching someone something they don't know.
I love it. I love it. So you've been in California. Where are some other places that you've been in the past? Because we have kittens, we have women from all over the world.
Well, I did my undergrad in San Diego, did my graduate work in Massachusetts, and had a 7-year stint out in Arizona.
So you've been all around. And of all the places that you've traveled, what is your favorite place that you've traveled and why?
Oh, wow. You know what? That is an interesting question, because every time I'm asked that, my answer changes.
Yeah.
And I think more on the memories I've made and less on the location. The people that I've connected with, the things that we've done. So most recently, my kids and I had an opportunity to go to England, and that was just really fun and beautiful and amazing.
So England is on my bucket list, and I've always desired to go to castles. And also, here's what's really weird. I also like the idea of going to the old graveyards, just because they fascinate me. Where did you go at in England, and what fascinated you?
Oh my goodness. Okay. We stayed in the north and did a bunch of little seaside towns, but I have to say, the thing that I think was just so powerful, showing my kids something that was really old. Because when you're out here in California, everything's so new and shiny. To think, wow, this was here X number hundreds of years ago, and this was this, and just the look on their face, and touching the stone, the castles, and going, wow, this just isn't in the movies. There's history here, and that was really neat.
That is really cool. That is really cool. Well, one of the reasons that I asked you to come on the show is your background, and to talk about your business, Clarity, which is so it's passionate to me, because when I'm a grandmother now, and I have a 14-year-old grandson and a 7-year-old granddaughter and a 6-year-old grandson, and when I allowed my children as in that same age bracket, I didn't really worry about what they ate, the foods, the cereals. But now today, I mean, everything is processed. I mean, you can't find hardly anything that isn't processed. And so I wanted to have you on the show, because you have this product. And so if you could share a little bit about the product and how you got connected with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to give the listeners a little more background on what my degree is in, I have my PhD in developmental psychology, and what I studied was successful aging. So what I was interested in was helping people learn how they could age successfully, and even changing the look of what it meant to age. What's normal aging and what's successful aging, and how can we move towards that? Well, I was entrenched in the university system, which I was very blessed to be, but the time came for me to make a change. And really the catalyst for that was when the father of my children passed away unexpectedly. And he was 43. There was no foul play. It wasn't a suicide. His body literally gave out with no warning.
Wow.
And I was kind of faced with this situation of, oh my goodness, I'm going to be 43 soon. And am I done? Is this really what I've meant to do? Or are there more things I have left to do here? And that was when I made the decision to leave. Well, start a path that eventually led to leaving that safe job in pursuit for something that was really more of my passion. Yeah. And I was literally, and this is how anyone who's on this journey where you're kind of starting to wonder, why am I here? And really genuinely asking those questions. The world, the universe, God, wherever you get your source energy is going to respond to that. Right. So I'm asking these questions quite innocently, but genuinely and authentically. And I'm in a collision repair shop. And a gentleman approaches me and says, you look healthy. And I said, well, thank you. And he says, have you ever heard of the science of epigenetics? And I said, yes, actually I have a colleague that studies that. And he goes, I'd love to introduce you to this company and this product based out of Mission Viejo, which was where I was raised, and all these interesting synchronicities. And the short story of this company is that really they have a mission and a vision of helping people reach their true potential through understanding how when you give the body the right raw material in the environment, it can actually heal itself. And I think that's really starting to resonate with people as you look around, and there's so much sickness and disease. And Lisa, you're right. The food I was eating when I was growing up is very different than the food my children eat. Yeah. It's processed differently. There's different additives, there's different chemicals, and it's not serving us. And we have to be more conscious of what's going in. So if you understand that there's not a lot of different diseases, people may, talk about specific diseases, but really you can bottom line it and say there's one, and that's a malfunctioning cell. Right? So if your cells are healthy, you're healthy. Okay, well, how do I keep my cells healthy? You need to have nutrition and you need to reduce toxins. Yeah. Okay, it really becomes a very simple thing. Well, this company produces a couple of different products, but the flagship one is called Calibrate, and it's a nutritional drink mix that does something very different than a supplement or a vitamin or a superfood or a protein drink. It literally uses the science of nutrigenomics, which is a big word, but it's, again, very simple.
Big word. Yeah. Big word.
Not easy to roll off the tongue, but nutra means nutrition. Genomics means genes. So it's nutrition talking to your genes. Now, even though I had been considered myself a longevity researcher and been researching things for decades, related to aging, this idea that my body could produce its own primary antioxidants was actually new to me. Yeah. And so I really got into the science of that and what's happening from a cellular perspective. And so this product turns on your genes. Literally think of it as flipping a switch, and your body produces your own primary antioxidants, which are millions of times stronger than anything you can ingest. Okay, so if your body now has all these antioxidants flowing through your bloodstream, you already get a little zing.
I feel it, yeah.
It reduces inflammation, and inflammation is the root cause of everything. So people, whatever your particular physical journey is, your experience will differ. But in general, people will report things like a reduction in any sort of physical discomfort, more clarity because you're releasing the toxins from the brain, better sleep, more energy, things of that nature. So it's, and that's a flagship product, but since, I've been with the company a little over a year and a half now. They've only been around 3 years. They also have products that really fascinate me because I'm a little bit of a science nerd and I love quantum physics. And they recently really branched into some products that are related to bioscalar energy, which is also a passion of understanding frequency, vibration, how we co-create with the universe, and taking it to this 5th dimension. So it's really a company that I love the people, I love the culture. It's more than a product, it's a movement of really empowering people to take back their health.
It is, and and you being a doctor yourself and understanding the pharmaceutical companies are really driving. I mean, when I think of all the people on antidepressants, for example, I was on Paxil for 10 years. And when I was originally put on it, I went through a very difficult part in my life, but no one ever took me off of it. I mean, once you get through that challenge, like you lost your husband, that's going to be a challenge, but not for 10 years. You know, you've got to be able, and so I'm so excited to have you on the show because I want to talk about that. There's a lot of people watching that are taking a lot of medications. There's people that are prancing kids that have MS, youth Parkinson's disease, Crohn's disease. And so can this help them also? People with arthritis.
Sure. So I can make no claims for FDA
Yes.
reasons that
Yes.
this can cure anything. But that said, I would encourage anyone, if when you're taking those pharmaceuticals, there's something resonating within you that says this doesn't feel right. You know,
Yes.
I'd like to try to get off these, or I think it's time for me to explore other options for my body. Again, maybe it's because you've been on it for a certain period of time, or now you're adding because the side effects. You know, maybe this medicine makes you nauseous, so now your doctor gives you this medicine to help with your nausea, and now you've got interactions. And the older we get, there is research that shows, and it makes sense, the older you get, the more prescriptions you take.
Yeah.
And now your body's in a weakened state. So I encourage people to start Googling, start looking, watching YouTube videos, and find something that really resonates with them, and to do the research. So I think what will be very surprising for people is to understand this role of inflammation.
Yes.
Even though it's been on the cover of Time Magazine, Newsweek, oh my goodness, it's all about inflammation. And then how do you put out that fire?
Yes.
And just exploring. My research led me to this, this specific company. Once I was introduced to it, I really started doing my due diligence before I was going to invest in a product, and just put my children on it as well.
Yes.
And I do believe at this time, there's not another product like this on the market. However, I also know people who will use essential oils, who use CBD oil, who will use electromagnetic mats, other things that work for them. And so it really is a personal journey of finding out what works for you and what will you do. So maybe, getting massages and doing yoga for 2 hours a day really helps your arthritis, but are you going to do that? Yeah. Right. So you have to have something that will also be compliant for you. You're going to take it. It tastes good. You enjoy it. You enjoy how it makes you feel. Yeah. And that you're going to do every day, or as long as you need to maintain the benefits. And that is one of the reasons I love this product. And my children, I have family members, because it tastes good. You mix it with water. It's just the first thing you do in the morning. And it's very simple to add into your routine.
Yeah. And that's what people are looking for, simple. I love that your background. I mean, your background is studying and research. I mean, so that's why I'm like, please be on my show. Please be on my show. Because a lot of people they promote, they believe in their products, but they do it because, one, they've taken the products and they've done, it's done wonders for them. So they're going to turn around and they're going to do the products. But you not only take the product, so you understand the research. And I mean, you're kind of how Renee Brown, that talks about shame. She studied shame for years. So when she launched that TEDx talk that launched, I mean, she had all the years of research to talk about it. And that's why I want you on the show, because you have all these years of research that backs up this product that you're talking about. So that's key to me.
Yeah, well, for better or for worse, because I could talk about it all day. But anyone else out there who's gone through, a doctoral program knows it's a lot of work and a lot of giving of yourself and a piece of your life. And once you have that behind you, for me, I couldn't get involved with anything that I didn't thoroughly do my due diligence on, because I felt like, I didn't go to school for, 20 years to get involved with something that wasn't something I could fully stand behind.
Absolutely. And the medical community, a lot of doctors are looking at holistic, they're looking at Chinese herbs or the Reiki. One of my tools, I'm a hypnotherapist. And so using hypnosis along with your products for I have clients that have these medical situations that I'm not qualified to help, but this could be something that could be companion to hypnosis, because our minds are so powerful. I mean, our minds, I tell people,
Yeah.
your mindset, because I'm 58 years old, and people are like, you don't look at, yeah, you can see the wrinkles, but I don't feel it. I feel better at 58 than I did at 40. I have more energy now at my age than I did, 15 plus years ago. Mindset is so important. And then to have a product like yours that works on this under you have to explain it, because these are big words for me. I'm not a doctor. So explain again what the components are of your.
Yeah, well, I love where you're taking the conversation, because one, yes, the medical community at this point has no choice but to accept and start doing research on what used to be called alternative. I prefer the word complementary, because Western medicine has its place. So if I break my arm, I absolutely want to go to a doctor and have that set.
For sure.
Right?
Yep.
So I like to think of it as complementary. And one of the main products in the Calibrate is broccoli sprouts, which will give you sulforaphane, this substance that comes out, sulforaphane. And you can Google sulforaphane. You can find thousands of white papers on sulforaphane. So that, again, with the research backing it up. And what it's doing is triggering your body to create, again, the words don't really matter, but if you're into research and you're into inflammation, you may, when I say things like catalase or glutathione peroxidase or sodium oxidase, these may be words you come across. And these are things that your body actually creates itself. You can't ingest them, but you can give your body the raw material to trigger the biological processes so that these are created naturally in your body at the cellular level, so that the detoxification is happening within the cell before it has an opportunity to wreak havoc, and kind of that fire, if you think of it as inflammation, gets out of control. So you said something that I loved about hypnosis.
Yes.
I do have a practice. When I left the university, I became certified in some energy psychology work as well, that does have some hypnotherapeutic components. And what I noticed right away was, as I was trying to speak to people about the power of their mind, which was all new to me.
Yeah.
Now, I thought the power of my mind came from studying an intellect. Little did I realize it was really vibration, frequency, this whole other than conscious patterns, the programs I was running, right? But I would have people in my office and they were in so much pain, Lisa, that it was hard for them to even concentrate on what I was saying. And that's when I thought, you know what, this is how this product fits into my journey, is I need to help them reduce their internal inflammation so that I have them in a state, when you're in pain, when you're not sleeping, forget about trying to reprogram some thoughts, because the pain is your primary dominant thought, which then, as research shows, leads to depression. Right? And start popping the pharmaceuticals because you need to get through life. And so in addition to just the food that's in there, in addition to the broccoli sprouts, there's chenga mushroom, there's curcumin, there's biopurine, there's a lot of stuff that comes from a very medicine that synergistically is working together. But the really special part is that it's infused with the quantum technology. So the powder itself is infused with a technology that literally raises your vibration.
So how soon do you, when you start taking this product, because people are going to watch it, they're going to be excited. And so sometimes it takes a couple of weeks. Is this something you notice within a few days of taking it? Do you notice a change? And is it subtle?
So I've had people, as you know, as you've worked with different people, there's different sensitivities, especially to your own. Say, okay, so I've had people take it and 20 minutes later say, I feel something. Sometimes if there's been a longer chronic health challenge, it may take a couple of weeks. In my personal experience with my kind of network that I've been working with, I would say on average a week. But again, with people who have chronic challenges, sometimes there's so much detoxification. It's a very gentle detox. There's so much detoxification that needs to happen. Think about after there's been a fire, all the rubble that needs to be cleared out before you start rebuilding.
Definitely.
Right. So there may be a difference in the time frame.
And is this something that people take daily for the rest of their lives? Is it a certain time frame? So I want to get everything out there because I know people ask questions.
Yeah, of course. Yes, daily for as long as you're in your human body.
There you go. And so
Then you won't take it anymore.
and so you say you have children on it. Is there a certain supplement amount for children versus adults? Can you explain that too?
Yeah, there's actually an entirely different formulation because children need less of the broccoli sprouts, which is the more expensive ingredient. So the price also comes down for the children with the idea of getting it in more children's hands. More probiotics because gut health at that age is tummy aches, so important. And more greens because most children just aren't getting the greens that they need. So the children's formulation is actually formulated for children.
Yeah. You just led into my next question about the gut. Does your product work with, because you hear a lot about the gut, acids in the gut. Can you talk a little bit about that too? Because that was on my question to ask.
Yeah, so gut health, and again, this is something that if anything we're saying is interesting to you, there is just a wealth of research coming out about the connection between the gut and the brain, actually.
Yes.
And the gut and the gut flora is being the basis for all health. So when things go wrong in the gut, when things are off balance, then your body's not in balance. And when it's not in harmony, it can't do what it was meant to do, which is heal itself when challenges arise.
Yes.
So this is going to support a healthy gut environment. Now, I will say, just from other research I've done, not related to this company, say you are a female and have been on the birth control pill for a long time, or you take antibiotics or have a history of antibiotics, you're absolutely going to want to do research on additional probiotics because you will have had a deficiency there. But these are things that are great. What I love about this community that I found myself immersed in through this company and this new journey is that, again, as you're on this journey, the people that you need to meet will appear. So naturopaths are great. Yeah. People that deal with homeopathy, right? That can actually, nutritionists, really well-educated nutritionists that can do a detailed historical background and help you understand what is your body deficient in and what has happened here. And that's when it becomes very individual. So absolutely the product supports a healthy gut, but I would just caution people and say, if it's not a one-all be-all if you have a history of things where you've kind of wiped out all your good gut flora, like through antibiotics, I would say, put out to the universe, bring me a nutritionist, bring me a naturopath or a great chiropractor who can help me work through this and really get that up to par.
Well, we have all three in our Prancing Kitten community too. We have several people. So, I love that more and more professionals like yourself are becoming part of our community because it's really important that we support and educate them. And that was the whole reason for my starting this video, is because I wanted people to be able to see you, and see your energy and see your happiness and that you're really a real person and know that. How can they reach out and find you? What's the best way to contact you?
I do have a Facebook page. Most people appreciate that because they're on there, and that's how you and I met.
Actually.
And my Facebook page is very simple. It's Dr. Heather Renee. I also have a website, and again, very simple, drheatherrenee.com. And so my email address, drheatherrenee@gmail.com. So
and is that Renee with one E or two E's?
Two E's at the end. So RENEE.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to make sure. And I will make sure that I attach it to the show. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the viewers? Any closing?
Yeah, well, I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on the show. And, the more I talk and the more people ask me questions, the more it helps me clarify why I'm here and what I'm here to do. And I just want to say that, everyone's journey is so unique, and that as you go through it, whether you're experimenting with a product or a different way of, dealing with your health or health challenges, to just always have loving acceptance for yourself. Yes. It's part of your journey. So it's hard for me to hear things like fight cancer, or, which is very aggressive, or when I work with clients that say, well, I just hate that I'm in pain, to really just accept that as part of your journey. Look for what it's teaching you as part of your journey, and then recognize that it's time for you to move on and that you're done with that.
Yes.
And now you're going to take action and empower yourself to, again, give your body the right raw material and the right environment, which, like you said, the mindset is a huge part of the environment, to
Oh,
give your body a chance to come into harmony and heal itself.
well, and I find it interesting too that women that I've talked to over the years, they will numb themselves with food, which they call comfort food. I say, get that word comfort. Food is a fuel. Think of food as fuel source, not reward or punishment, but think of food as a fuel source. But also they'll go out and they'll buy a $500 purse, or they'll go book a trip, and then they come back and then they face their health, their depression, and all of that. So I tell people that you start within. Your investment should be your body, your spirit, your soul. You only have one temple, and that's right here. You're in it, and you only get one shot. My uncle passed away at 42, just suddenly on the golf course, and there is no guarantee for tomorrow. But if you're not happy, if you're feeling a little bit of a funk, I definitely suggest you to reach out to Dr. Heather Renee, because it has just been a pleasure. And also the Clarity, the company, I did research before the show, and we're talking, there's lots of doctors that support this product. This is not just like a one doctor. There's several doctors on board that are supporting this. So thank you so much. And I will attach all the information so people can find you too. So thank you again, Dr. Heather Renee, for being on the show, and we will be back next week. Until then, have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.